A leadership team consistently wins quarterly reviews, yet a new entrant quietly gains ground. Plans appear rational, investments seem disciplined, yet the competitive position weakens over a few years. The trap starts when every decision is optimized for current customers and profit logic. Choices reward improvements that fit existing measures, even when the market is shifting elsewhere. Over time, the organization becomes better at serving the mainstream and worse at noticing different customers. The result is a sudden moment where leaders realize they cannot catch up without abandoning their own system. Imagine a product group that keeps adding features for demanding buyers while ignoring simpler use cases. The simpler use case grows, costs fall, and the entrant builds scale before the leader takes it seriously. You will learn how disruption works, why it starts below expectations, and how managers can respond without panic. This video is inspired by The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen, and subscribe for tools that spot disruption, size markets, and design autonomous teams. Sustaining innovation enhances established products by improving dimensions that mainstream customers already value. Disruptive innovation begins with inferior, mainstream performance, but offers a unique value proposition that new users readily accept. The mechanism involves disruptors trading off top-end metrics for simplicity, lower costs, smaller form factors, or easier use. Since incumbents measure success based on current performance, they focus on sustaining upgrades and neglect these trade-offs. This results in two distinct paths, one pursuing higher performance for existing customers, and one opening a new market. A new offering might initially seem unimpressive, failing the tests that mattered in the old market. Meanwhile, early adopters purchase it for convenience, accessibility, or price, not for the higher specifications. As experience and learning accumulate, the disruptive technology improves until it meets mainstream performance standards. At this point, the incumbent faces a competitor with a different cost structure and a distinct customer base. A helpful next step is to label each roadmap item as sustaining or disruptive and document the expected trade-offs. Technology often improves faster than customers can absorb, so suppliers end up delivering more performance than needed. Once products exceed requirements, customers stop paying premiums for performance and start choosing on different criteria. The basis of competition can shift from functionality to reliability, then to convenience, and finally to price. This shift is not just a slogan. It changes which capabilities matter and which business models win. In the early stages, customers reward the highest performance, so incumbent investment logic seems correct and safe. Later, the same logic becomes a liability because extra performance raises costs without raising willingness to pay. A product that once seemed weak becomes good enough, then begins competing on convenience and price. When that happens, the incumbent has to defend a premium position while the market is moving downward. Track how customers actually use performance. Then note where additional improvements stop changing buying decisions. When you see oversupply, shift investment toward reliability, usability, and cost discipline before competitors do. Organizations rely on customers and investors for resources, so money flows toward what these groups currently demand. The process involves firms creating systems to eliminate ideas that customers reject, even if they could be valuable later. Disruptive products often have lower margins and start in small markets, making them seem unattractive on financial spreadsheets. Large firms require significant new revenue to sustain growth, so small markets fail to meet internal expectations. A small, autonomous unit can pursue disruptive opportunities with a cost structure suited for lower margins. This unit can engage with different customers, learn more quickly, and build a business without constant comparison to the core. The core business can continue serving current customers, while the new unit explores a distinct value network. This approach views disruption as a separate business design challenge, not just a feature request. Identify one disruptive opportunity, then define the smallest organization capable of winning in that market and remaining profitable. If these ideas assist you in building a workable response, subscribe for further breakdowns on autonomous units, right-size markets, and core protection decisions. Market research supports sustaining innovation because markets are well-known and trajectories are already established. Disruption, however, often leads to inaccurate forecasts about emerging markets, making precise demands unhelpful and potentially paralyzing. Teams need quantified demand and financial returns, even when these are uncertain. as the mechanism for innovation. Early success frequently belongs to firms that enter and learn, as the right market and strategy cannot be fully known in advance. Discovery-based planning treats assumptions as testable hypotheses rather than promises, fostering a mindset of continuous learning. It funds small steps aimed at understanding customer value and what business model can effectively deliver. A failed idea does not mean a failed company when spending is staged and learning is prioritized and swift. The risk arises when a team commits the full budget to one assumed market before sufficient evidence emerges. Begin with a portfolio of experiments, set clear learning goals, and use short cycles to revise the plan accordingly. Keep decision criteria focused on what was learned, not on defending the initial forecast presented. Organizational capability is not merely about talented individuals. Processes and values shape what gets done repeatedly. A process that is a capability for one task can become a hindrance when the work requires different priorities. Values serve as the standards used to determine what is attractive, marginal, important or unimportant across the organization. If values favor high margins, low-margin disruptive work will be deprioritized, even if leaders agree in principle. Processes related to market analysis, budgeting, and planning can also block disruptive efforts by demanding the wrong inputs. The mechanism is that these processes are designed for consistency, so they resist change unless deliberately redesigned. A separate organization can develop new processes and values that fit the disruptive business model. It can define success with measures suited to small markets, rapid learning, and different customer needs. Map the resources, processes, and values that drive current decisions. Then identify which ones block the new work. Then choose whether to create a new unit, redesign processes, or change decision rules for disruptive projects. Disruption is not a failure to innovate, but a failure to match the type of innovation to the right organization. The system begins by distinguishing between sustaining and disruptive moves, recognizing their different value propositions. Next, it monitors for performance oversupply, as that is when competition shifts toward reliability, convenience, and price. It also acknowledges that small markets matter and that forecasts will be wrong, so learning must drive planning. Resource dependence explains why the core will resist, so structure must align incentives with the new customer set. Capability analysis shows why processes and values lock behavior, so new work needs a fitting home. Start by identifying one disruptive threat and one potential new market where different customers value different attributes. Create indicators to track oversupply, customer switching criteria, and whether the new unit is learning fast enough. Repeat the cycle quarterly, as each iteration turns uncertainty into a clearer picture of what to build next. If you want step-by-step frameworks on disruption, subscribe as each episode converts principles into decisions on indicators, organization design, and discovery experiment.